ScotCPS Bite 9, Improvised Weapons. Hi, it's Al here again from the Scottish Centre for Personal Safety. In our last video, we talked about the T-zone, the best place to strike an attacker for maximum damage. In this video, we're going to tell you about improvised weapons. Now, improvised weapons are everyday items, some of which will be in your person, that you can use to repel an attack. To find out exactly when you can use an improvised weapon, please check out one of our previous videos, Reasonable Use of Force. So let's start with some examples of improvised weapons, and for this, I brought my handbag. Now, this in itself can actually be used as a weapon to whack an attacker with, an improvised weapon. And it actually reminds me of a funny story that we were told on a women's aid course by one of the ladies that were there. Her son had just started university and he'd moved into accommodation. And she gave him a call and she said, how are you getting on? And he said, I'm getting on great. You know, I'm even doing my own washing. But one of the things that I really, really hate is the ironing. I've got a room just piled high with stuff. So the mum, being a mum, said, don't worry about it. I'll come round and I'll do your ironing for you. So she jumped on a bus, she made her way to the area where the dorm was located. She got off the bus, and when she got off the bus, she was actually mugged. And when she was defending herself, she held her bag up, she whacked the mugger over the head, and she knocked him clean out. Now the police were then called and they came in to see what was happening, and they found the mugger still unconscious and called an ambulance, etc. And they said, well, what happened? She explained it. And of course, the first thing they said was, well, what's in your bag that would knock him out? And she took out this iron and said, this is what I'm doing, I'm going to iron my son's clothing. Now, the police then took her downtown to take a statement into the police station. In the meantime, they paid the son a visit. And they said, are you expecting anyone? And he said, yeah, I'm expecting my mum who's doing my ironing. Why is there anything wrong? And they said, no, there's nothing, it's okay. It confirmed her story as to why she had an iron in her bag, and then obviously let her go, all's well. Now the reason why I'm telling you this is because some of you, when you hear an improvised weapon as an everyday object that you can legally carry to defend yourself, may decide, oh that's great, I'm going to have a hammer, I'll carry that with me. Or I'm going to have something else, a baseball bat, or even an iron. But remember, the police will investigate why you have that on your person. And if it doesn't add up, you're probably going to get nicked. So, delving into my handbag, let's see what's in there. First thing that comes out is a folding umbrella. Now you'll find this in a lot of different books, etc., talking about improvised weapons. This is quite a good improvised weapon. One of the books that I looked at, I was really annoyed at, because it described the use and how you use this to defend yourself. And they said, what you do is, an attacker's come towards you, you point the umbrella towards them, you press the button, the umbrella opens up in the attacker's face, and while it does that, you let the umbrella go and run. And as the umbrella floats to the ground, ta-da! You've disappeared, and the attacker's confused. Absolute nonsense. And a complete waste of an improvised weapon. Other ones have said, well, what you do is you can hit anywhere at all with an improvised weapon. Give them a good bash, whatever you want. Again, not ideal. This umbrella, as it opens up, it's got little spines, as we all know, and it collapses in itself. So basically all these little spines are folded in there and it becomes a nice cushion. Which means when you hit, you can hit really hard and it will cause no damage whatsoever to an attacker. So what's the best way to use a folded umbrella? The best way is going back to the video we showed you before, the T-zone, and strike the attacker on the T-zone in a stabbing way. So you're hitting in anywhere, across the eyes, bridge of the nose down the groin, anywhere in there in the T-zone. Strike it really hard for maximum damage. Anywhere out with or there, any other way of doing it, this becomes completely ineffective. So being Scotland, we started off with the umbrella. Looking in my bag to see what else there is, we've got rolled up magazine or a rolled up newspaper. This is quite hard. That way, even harder, it will go through plate glass. So it's really, really good as an improvised weapon and an everyday object. What else have we got in here? Pen, everyday object. Brush. Brush is really good as well. Any of these things that are long can be used in a stabbing way anywhere down the T. But the brush has also got another use as well. Not this one, but this one here, I don't know if you can see, has got little baubles in the end of it. But if you've got the type of hairbrush that's actually got sharp bristles, instead of holding it the normal way that you'd hold a brush, hold it by the bristle way, exposing some of them. And if you're about to be attacked, you can hit into your attacker's face, drag down, and you're aiming to drag down that way. And then you can follow through, obviously, in a stabbing way. Hopefully your attacker will run off. The pain will be quite intense for him as well. But more importantly, after it all happens, when you go to the police, you've got DNA on these bristles, his skin on the bristles. Also, when the police are trying to find out who he is, he's got big scratch marks down his face that'll match the hairbrush, and it's easy to then identify your attacker. So hairbrush is really good for a number of reasons if you have one in your bag. Not so good is the old-fashioned comb. Those who usually have them. They're not so good because you can use it as a slashing motion, but if you try and use it in a stabbing way, they have a tendency to break and snap, unless you've got a metal comb of some kind. But these all plastic ones, they're not as good as that, so don't rely on that, because maybe the first time you go to strike out, it breaks, and that's you. So it's not ideal. Any smokers that are about, you might smoke. Now, I have heard people say that you can actually use this in a different way. You could turn the volume up so that it's quite high, the flame's quite high, so when you stick it into someone and flash, you're going to get that. But as you just saw there, it might not always work, and you don't want to be going like that, or worse, you light it and push forward and the flames went out. So not ideal. It can be used in itself as a striking implement to further emphasise your hands. So it can be used that way. What else have we got in here? We've got sprays. It could be deodorant spray, it could be hairspray, if you're a female that likes that, or a guy who likes that. There's different types of sprays out there. If you're buying one or using one in your bag that's going to have there that you think you might make use for the use of an improvised weapon, this is quite good, because this one here has got a little bit, it's beveled, which basically means that even in the dark, if you're not sure where it is, you can put your finger on and do it. Because the last thing you want to be doing is the flat top ones. You aim out like that, press, and you suddenly realise that you're spraying yourself in the face. And it has happened before. But pressurised containers are really good. Not so good perfumes. Perfumes usually aren't pressurised, they're usually pump action. So when you actually come to use it, instead of getting a spray that's going to go in the attacker's eyes and temporarily blind them, you're actually doing a pff, and that's about all it is. It'll smell nice, but other than that, won't cause much damage. This has obviously got the advantage in that it can go at a distance as well. So you could be standing 3, 4, 5 feet away and still spray the attacker in the eyes. So it's quite good, and it's an everyday object that you'll have a legitimate reason for having it in your bag, using your deodorant. Not to be used in conjunction with a lighter. We don't want any James Bond stuff going on, because that wouldn't be an improvised weapon. Now, one of the best improvised weapons, if I can find them in the bag, some of you all have, keys. They're really good. Now, police would used to advise you that if you were going to use that, you kind of held them, make a fist and hold them in between your fists, which means you can strike out that way. And then they stopped advising this, and initially we thought, well, that's obvious, because keys can be quite dangerous. You know, I usually get a Morris lock key, it's kind of rounded. This one here is a Yale lock, and it can be quite dangerous, because if you hit someone in the face area, defending yourself, defending an attacker, that could take an eye out, puncture a cheek, they could do a lot of damage. And we kind of thought maybe they were shying away from it and saying maybe you shouldn't use your keys, but actually they weren't. What they were actually doing was just saying, what we've found is that people who have used this advice and they've held it like that, and they've hit in against someone, an attacker, it's went flat. So it was out there, you hit in and it's went flat, and that's because you can't really grip between your forefinger and your ring finger, or your middle finger. It's difficult to grip it, so it's not good. So the device has changed. Still use your keys, but instead of using it that way, you're going to hold it as if you'd normally use a key between your thumb and your forefinger, as if you're just going to put it in the door. That way, your thumb can give more grip. And now, when you hit in, there'll be more damage done. And it's not going to bend, it's not going to push out your finger, you're not going to lose your grip. It's going to be held there till the attack is over. So using your keys anywhere in the T-zone, really good. Everyone's got them, so don't go out there and start shoving stuff in your bag. Use your keys. Mobility aids such as walking sticks, or even a white cane if you're registered blind, can also make excellent improvised weapons. Now, this list is not exhaustive. Remember, an improvised weapon is any everyday object that you would legally have in your person that you can then improvise to defend yourself, to use as a weapon. Now, there are lots of things out there for sale that class themselves as self-defense weapons. I've got a few here that I'd like to show you. This one here is a Kubotan keyring. A Kubotan is a Japanese martial art weapon, as it were. It's usually made of wood, kind of rounded at the end, and it's used to strike anywhere in the T-zone, but also pressure points in the neck, under the arm. It can do quite a lot of damage and aid you if you've been attacked. And it's being sold as a self-defense keyring. Is it legal? Probably not. If you had to use that and the police then asked what the hang's that, and it became apparent that it's a self-defense keyring, you probably would get charged with having a concealed weapon or something. That is a felt tip pen, a marker pen, or a bingo pen, or whatever you want to call it. These are really good. Now look at that. It's exactly the same as your Kubotan. This one will cost you about £15 in a shop, and you might get nicked for having it. This one here costs about £1. You're never going to get nicked. Easiest way to think about an improvised weapon or a weapon that you've bought: can you get it through airport security? Can you get into a disco or something with it? Nightclub? If the answer is no, it's probably getting taken off you, then it's not legal for you to carry it. That you will not get on board a plane with. That, of course you will. Just a pen. Other bits and pieces. This one here is again an keyring, but this keyring has been marketed in different colours. Obviously this one's black. I was in a course where I showed this to some of the females in the course, and this lady said, "Oh, I got them from my grandchildren. I got a blue one from my grandson, and I got a pink one from my grandchild, my daughter." They come in all different colours: yellow, blue, pink, you name it. They're designed for kids as well, and you get a lot of grandparents looking out there and they're buying them for their kids or their grandchildren. It's not ideal. These bits here are actually quite sharp. The idea is that you put your fingers through the holes, and it then transforms into a knuckle duster. It's sold as a self-defense keyring. People out there see it online, things like that, and think, "Oh, that's a great idea." You cannot buy that in this country. You can't go into a shop and buy it in this country. You can buy it online. There's nothing wrong with you having it in your house. But if you use it at all, even if it's in the house or if you've been attacked, you're going to get nicked. Police officers will tell you this is an offensive weapon. The damage that this will do is extreme. So don't be tempted to buy this sort of stuff thinking, "Oh, it's a good idea to defend myself." You're going to get nicked. Same with, there's different types of rings. This ring here, this little ring, then transforms, because of a point on it, into what they call as a self-defense weapon. This one here, something similar, transforms again, and again, it's for striking in. Very sharp, a lot of damage that can get on with them. And they come in all sorts of shapes and sizes. This one here is supposed to be a pendant as well that you can wear around your neck, but again, it can transform into some sort of knuckle duster of some kind. These things, they do a lot of damage. They're really good as far as advertising from they are self-defense weapons of some kind. But if you ever have to use them in this country, you're going to get nicked. Simple as that. There's lots of things out there. This one here really annoyed me. Knuckle dusters have been illegal in this country for a number of years now, maybe over 10 years. apparently this isn't a knuckle duster. Although it looks like a knuckle duster, it feels like a knuckle duster, it's heavy like a knuckle duster, it'll do a lot of damage like a knuckle duster, it was sold to me via eBay as a paperweight. Now, first of all, the police might suspect, where's the papers that you're carrying that you have to weigh down if that's in your pocket? But they're going to nick you straight away. This is illegal. Do not be tempted to go out there and buy stuff that you then have in your person in case something happens, you're going to get attacked. You're going to get nicked. So not a good idea. There's other things as well. Now, this again is not an exhaustive list. There's lots, that's some of the stuff that I've got. There's other things as well, and I'll show you some pictures of them now. There's coin purses that can be used as a slapjack for hitting people with, if you're an attacker with, if you've been attacked. Again, you're caught with that in your person, you're going to get arrested. This item, the seller describes as a stinger. There's different names for it, but basically you clench it in between your fists and the pointed area can then smack into someone's face. There's a necklace in the shape of a cross, which detaches to reveal a sharp knife or a needle. There are belt knives of different shapes and sizes. Expandable batons, they've been illegal in this country for well over 10 years. And in this one here, going into the house, there's a nightstand that transforms into a bat and a shield. Would you believe it? Again, not going to be illegal in this country. So don't be tempted to go out there and buy all these different self-defense weapons that are on eBay and Facebook and all the other social media stuffs. In this country, in the UK, if you have them in your person, you're probably going to get done with having a concealed weapon. If you have to use them, you're probably going to get done for using a weapon of some kind. The idea of an improvised weapon is it's improvised. There was no thought went into it. If you have bought something solely for the purpose of using as a weapon, then it's premeditated. You've thought about it, therefore it's illegal. If you have something on your person or you look around you and you pick up something and you improvise it at the spur of the moment to use as a weapon, that's an improvised weapon and it then becomes legal to do that. So don't be caught out by buying things specifically for your bag, your person, your house or whatever that you end up going to regretting later on when the police are involved. And that also goes to other items as well, because we haven't covered all of them. There's other things like mobile phones that actually aren't mobile phones, they're stun guns. Stun guns are completely illegal. In fact, there was a case not long ago of a chap who ordered a stun gun from Thailand, I think it was. It was intercepted by customs, so he never even got it. It was intercepted by customs, and the police paid him a visit, and he was jailed for 12 months for ordering a stun gun online. He didn't even have it in his person yet. It was stopped by customs. So you can get jail sentences, you can get massive fines, you can get charged, you can get a criminal record. Do not be tempted, I can't emphasise that enough, to go out there and buy things that are classed as self-defence weapons or self-defence items, because they probably aren't self-defence. It's premeditated to start with, so it's not going to be allowed. You've got plenty of good, and as I said before, best thing you can use for self-defence, your keys. So why would you bother with anything else? I hope this video has explained a little bit about improvised weapons and when you can, and more importantly when you can't, use them. Next time we'll be recapping the law before we go into some self-defense techniques. So we're recapping the law side with what we call the CAFE scenario. So until then, stay safe.